In 2012, we got an email from Bill Gates, and obviously Forbes has always been we've always worked with Bill Gates on our philanthropy summit. These are the richest, most influential people in the world, and we do a big summit. And Bill Gates sends an email saying something like, you know, you guys should really take a look at Chuck Feeney. He is one of the key inspirations to why we even did the Giving Pledge. And you know, when Bill Gates sends you an email, says, hey, you should take a look at this person. He's influenced me and Warren Buffett and Oprah and, you know, you name it, you know, you follow that lead. I've been lucky at Forbes to meet a lot of CEOs and a lot of billionaires, and they're all different. There's not, some of them, some of them are, is what you would think, over the top with all the crazy toys and all the flash. Chuck, if he was sitting on a park bench, you would just think he's an older gentleman. Very quiet, very understated. He wore, I remember, like a blue blazer that had, you know, frayed holes in the arms. His briefcase was an old grocery bag, a plastic grocery bag that was stuffed with newspapers. This is someone who gave away $8 billion after tax. That's a fortune, absolute fortune. Chuck's the kind of person that he's very humble, and he will never brag or even tell you about what he does. Chuck Feeney grew up blue collar in Elizabeth, New Jersey, grew up in an Irish American neighborhood, served in the military, went to Cornell on the GI Bill, and then he went back to Europe. Feeney's first venture into retail was he was selling to American soldiers stationed in Europe, and he would sell cars, he would sell alcohol. And they were kind of like, he'd take orders and send it to them. It was always a secret to see where the boats were going next, and he would get those tips and then go and follow the fleet as they went from port to port to sell them alcohol, to sell them cars. You know, that kind of evolved into what is duty-free shoppers. They're owned by LVMH, and you see them around cruises, you see them in airports. Basically, you know, you're buying these luxury gifts without paying tax. But his main thing was he had the smarts, but also the great timing. He's a very smart, very shrewd, very aggressive businessman. And he took that kind of shrewdness and aggressiveness and put it into charity. Forbes was going to put him on the Forbes 400 in the 80s, and it ruined his life for a long time, because he was super under the radar. He hated paying taxes. He didn't want any attention. And suddenly we outed him as this extremely wealthy individual. And we also when we put him on the list at Forbes, we made two mistakes. The first mistake was he was actually worth a lot more than we said he was. And secondly, it turns out that the fortune wasn't his, it was his charities, because at the time he had secretly transferred most of his fortune to the Atlantic Philanthropies, the foundation. And some people do this as kind of a tax dodge. For him, it was just a way to kind of do this giving while living plan.
I'm not here to tell anybody what they should do with their money. If you make your money, you do what you want with it. But I'm just convinced that the satisfaction one can achieve from helping people is a level of satisfaction that you can't get otherwise.
Chuck said, I want to go for broke. I want to spend all this money while I'm alive. Three things. I get to, first of all, be in control. The money goes to where I want. Secondly, he wanted to make big bets. He set a date saying, my charity's going to close in 2020. And this was years ago, saying, I'm going to go for broke. All the money's gone, so let's be as aggressive as we can. Let's get the most results. And the third thing is he got great joy out of giving, great joy out of philanthropy. And he wanted to see it all happen. He said, it's not fun. You know, if the money goes to these charities when you're dead, you don't get to enjoy it. You know, you don't get to watch the progress. You get to watch the money go to people that need it. He's still alive. He loves to be able to, you know, kind of see the effects that his foundation and the good that it does. So that's Chuck. I was really honored to be able to tell the story of Chuck Feeney closing down Atlantic Philanthropies. That story was, in a way, it was almost ceremonial. The money was already gone, but he basically signed these dissolution papers saying that I did it. Like, I gave away all my money, I'm broke, and now I'm out of business. There are some legacies. One is the Atlantic Fellows, and it's a grant. It's almost kind of like a Rhodes Scholarship. So the Atlantic Fellows will live on. One of his last and one of his biggest gifts was he donated $350 million to Cornell University to build Cornell Tech, or Cornell Technion, which is this turning Roosevelt Island in New York City into this giant tech hub. He's really inspired a whole new generation. And just look at the Giving Pledge. You know, Joe Gebbia from Airbnb, Mark Zuckerberg, Priscilla Chan, Dustin Moskovitz from Asana and from Facebook. These are people, they're young, they're still in their 30s, and they've already signed the giving pledge saying that they're going to give away half or more of their money upon their death. I mean, the story of Chuck Feeney really is amazing. I mean, this is someone who loved business for business sake. He was ruthless and very aggressive. He wanted to build his company as big as it could, because kind of deep down, he was secretly giving it away. So the bigger his company was, the more money he could give. What made him happy was giving and helping other people. I think he's worked hard all his life, traveled the world, and he's out of money, and he couldn't be happier.